By way of necessary admission, I should go on the record saying that I am not a booster of Bill Cosby. But then again, the liars, racist frauds, and professional legal shysters and con men who are pretending as if the Bill Cosby prosecution is anything other than a proxy fight against the black community, they're not supporters of all of these phony accusers who are coming out against Cosby either. It's time to set the record straight. The white media is attempting to engineer a good old-fashioned bona fide jury nullification. They're telling the public, this is what you better think, and you better say that Bill Cosby's guilty as hell, and here's the reason why. They're trying to create what for them I guess they figure is going to be a hostile environment for anyone who would try to say that Cosby is innocent. Meanwhile, Harvey Weinstein, they're not concerned about. Kevin Spacey, not concerned about him either. But Bill Cosby, well, the world has to stop spinning on its axis so we can lynch him in court. These women are by and large drug addicts, among other things. Potheads, crackheads, thieves, heroin addicts, whores, sluts, you name it. And while it does show that for Bill Cosby there was certainly no accounting for taste when it came to his sexual partners, it's also clear that his accusers are dirtbag liars. And this reality that the accusers are parasites looking for a payoff isn't new at all. Let me give you the rundown. Over 3.5 years ago, one of Cosby's accusers, Linda Jo Traits, was exposed. She claimed that 40 years ago, Bill Cosby had allegedly assaulted her. But as it turned out, she's been in trouble with the law for years and years, having been arrested for, among other things, ID fraud, battery, theft, and various drug offenses. Still waiting for the white media to tell us how Bill Cosby made her do all that. Just last July, Chloe Goins, who had accused Cosby of assaulting her in 2008, made headlines when she got herself arrested for sneaking heroin onto the grounds of the California jail. Yet another drug addict. Well, at least they didn't have to go far to book her. She's already had to drop one of her planned nuisance suits that she was trying to gin up against Cosby, but I guess the rent must be due. And Me Too has re-emboldened a lot of these con artists, so she's trying to see if she can get some mileage out of resurrecting her nuisance suit, which she herself had formally dismissed. Another one is Tamara Green. This piece of work is a lawyer, if you can believe that. Tamara Green has been filing all manner of nuisance suits against Bill Cosby, hoping to annoy him into cutting her a check. She claims that he defamed her when he denied her sexual assault allegations. I'm not making that up. Merely denying someone's falsehoods about you, apparently to her mind, is what counts as defamation. But what she didn't tell anyone was that she had been suspended from practicing law by the California State Bar for 2 years, and she was placed on probation for 5 years. She also didn't tell anyone that she was found to have mental health problems. What a surprise. She failed to disperse a $20,000 medical settlement to a client, and instead, she just pocketed the money. She took $1,000 from one of her clients who she then never represented or even bothered to contact, and then she disconnected her office phone and changed addresses without telling her clients about it. Talk about that expert representation. By the way, Tamara Green, this whack job, she claims that she's suing Bill Cosby for defamation because, quote, he ruined her good name and reputation. You can't make this stuff up, though they certainly did. The white media's had a good time showing pictures of Chaylin Laisha. I'm sure I got her name wrong, but these people don't deserve the time or effort for me to get it right. This one claimed that Cosby assaulted her in 1986. Now, here we see her trying to look like she's crying even though her face is bone dry. She's such a lousy actress, she can't even dredge up some crocodile tears for the cameras. And they plaster this picture of her everywhere. I guess that's because this picture is a hell of a lot more flattering than these. And her rap sheet is as filthy as her face. Arrested for prostitution at least twice, trespassing, theft, assault, disorderly conduct, for fighting, After one of her prostitution arrests, she had to be placed under a court order to attend a mandatory drug counseling program, which she promptly skipped out on and got an arrest warrant for that. Oh, and before I forget, Shayla Laisha was also arrested for false reporting. Well, nice to know she doesn't give up easily. And while not all of Cosby's accusers necessarily have mugshots, they all have stories that fall apart the moment you even attempt to verify them. Here is Louisa Moritz. While I couldn't find any mugshots of her, I will say that her plastic surgery is certainly a crime. I don't know what her cosmetic surgeon got for this botched job, but it should have been 3 to 5 years. Like all of Cosby's accusers, this piece of work is a walking fraud too. Her name isn't even Louisa Moritz, it's actually Luisa Castro Neto. She was born in Cuba, came to the United States in the 60s to see if she could trade on her looks. Clearly she didn't get very far. Castro Neto, Moritz, went to law school and miraculously passed the bar, but like Tamara Green, she too soon ran afoul of the California State Bar. In this case, she got herself disbarred altogether. After numerous disciplinary measures, and like Tamara Green, Miss Moritz also had a bad case of sticky fingers when it came to her client's money. She actually got caught in her lie. She told the New York Daily News that Bill Cosby had forced her to perform oral sex on him when they were alone together backstage at the dressing room at a Johnny Carson show in 1971. Only problem was, a quick check of the Internet Movie Database revealed that Bill Cosby and Moritz never appeared together on any episode of The Tonight Show. And while they both were on the show in 1971, Cosby was on the show in March of 71, and Castro Neto, Moritz, she wasn't on the show until July 23rd of that year. Moritz was confronted on this, and when asked about this obvious contradiction, she admitted that she wasn't exactly sure what year the alleged assault occurred. She claimed that she wasn't exactly sure when, but my attorney was looking for it. I'm not sure because I'm in bed and I'm tired. By the way, her attorney, Joseph Camarata, he has to this day, 7 years later, still not presented this alleged Tonight Show episode. Now, you would think that if this woman had an episode video that everyone should have seen, which is easily obtainable from NBC, of Cosby and her on the same episode together, you would think that she would be showing it to everyone and saying, see, here it is. But Moritz never produced it, her attorney never produced it, and nobody on the internet has ever found this imaginary video, but take her word for it, it totally happened. And it's not as if the rest of the white media doesn't know this. People magazine on their website gave a very small mention to the fact that Cosby's lawyer had sent them, talking about People magazine, a statement saying that Moritz and Cosby were never on The Tonight Show together and that she fabricated her story. Now, where's the investigative journalism about this? Where are the tough questions or any questions to Moritz and the rest of the phony Cosby accusers about this? This would be the most easily provable of any accusation against Cosby. Instead, you have the totality of the white media who have decided we're not even going to touch this. We're not going to look at it. In fact, we won't even talk about it. And that brings us to the sad case of Janice Dickinson. You know you're scraping under the barrel when you have to bring this Frankenstein hag to the proceedings. Janice Dickinson has spent virtually her entire empty adult life as a junkie and other forms of reprobate, but mostly drugs. She's been a drug addict since at least the 1960s. Who in their right mind is going to believe anything that comes from a woman whose brain, such as it is, has been swimming in a toxic stew of psychoactive narcotics for at least 40 years? And she has no business whatsoever talking about sexual behavior at all. As Variety magazine's website reported in 2007, over a decade ago, Janice Dickinson, who was already 52 years old at that time, went on the Howard Stern show and admitted that she slept with at least, wait for it, sleeping with more than 1,000 men. You heard that right. She went on a broadcast radio show, and this then 52-year-old was bragging that she had slept with over 1,000 men. I know what you guys are thinking. She certainly lived up to her last name. I'm sure the Dickinson puns will be coming in fast and heavy. Just today, Janice Dickinson made the mistake of taking the stand because the DA was trying to figure out how to stack the deck with false accusations. And Tom Mesereau ripped her to shreds. He threw the book at her, literally. Janice Dickinson wrote a so-called memoir some years back. You can find it in the fiction section of Barnes & Noble's. And in it, she recounted an alleged encounter with Bill Cosby in Lake Tahoe. And, according to Janice Dickinson's own book, which she herself wrote, she admits to popping a couple of Quaaludes and then going to sleep alone in her hotel room. This is exactly the opposite of what she's now saying happened. Tom Mesereau pressed her on these facts, and today she now claims that she made up what she wrote in her own memoir, that she lied when she claimed nothing happened in her memoir because she wanted some money for writing the book and she figured it was a way to get a quick paycheck. Yes, sir, nothing like hanging a liar out to dry, and using her own words to do it. Now, in order to debunk her story, Tom Mesereau didn't need private investigators. He didn't need an army of lawyers to go over the fine print of the law. He didn't need to interview anybody for expert witness testimony. All he needed was a library card. But apparently that's more effort than the white media or the DA Kevin Steele was willing to put out, so this is why I tell you this is all a cover-up. The white media knows there's absolutely no substance to these accusations, but the white media understands the part that they're playing in all this. Bill Cosby is a proxy. Whether or not you approve of every little thing that Bill Cosby may have said over the years is irrelevant. As black people, we need to recognize clearly what is going on here. This isn't about Bill Cosby. It's never about the black man who you see the white media lynching. The O.J. Simpson trial wasn't about O.J. It was about what he is to represent. The white media understands the visual cues that they use that are going to resonate with the dominant society. They understand that and they play on it. From the media to those who watch it, they all understand the social drama that's taking place here. And it's not about Bill Cosby. You know, Cosby's accusers, making things up, and upon inspection we find that none of this stuff happened. You see it over and over and over and over again. This is who's accusing Bill Cosby of having assaulted them. It's a rogues gallery of skanks, drug addicts, sex freaks, whores, liars, and professional screw-ups. These women have failed to make it in Hollywood, failed to make it in law, and in everything else. Now, at the end of what passes for their lives, they're trying to shake down a man who actually did make something of himself. They are without conscience. Anything for $1, anything for some quickie attention. And this is what the so-called Me Too bowel movement is about too. This is why you got all these feminists out there demanding that you believe whatever they say, with no evidence whatsoever, any asinine accusation, without proof. In fact, that's their demand. Me Too means you should act on what I say, without any proof. You should send someone to prison or take their life savings from them based on my word and nothing else. Because this is about getting away with murder. It's about forcing a social and legal environment where the white media can use larcenous lying women as their stalking horses to take a man's freedom and his money without ever having to prove anything happened. Can you imagine the kind of power that previously dictators had, and now they're saying just give it to any old skank on the street? To give someone the ability to rob and incarcerate another person merely based on their word and nothing else? Well, I'm glad to see that in this case at least, someone decided to finally fight back, and the white media hates it. You can see the white media mad as hell because Tom Mesereau's doing his job. He's demanding that these women be held to account.
Oh, in the era of Me Too, Bill Cosby's defense team is going back to the old playbook.
You mean the law? You mean when someone takes to the stand, you actually have the right to confront your accusers? Gee, I didn't know that was dealing from the bottom of the barrel. I didn't know that was wrong. What the white media is really saying is, damn it, the nigger's gonna get away. Damn it, we thought that we were going to railroad him. We sat out all the cues, all the dog whistles. We told everyone, just convict Bill Cosby. We're in the era of Me Too, which really means get every black man you can in prison for nothing. So what they were thinking was, we've set the template. We told everyone what we want them to do. We put on a little bit of legal theater. We've told everybody what their pre-planned role is in this little tragedy, and we need everyone to understand that it doesn't matter what the lack of evidence means. It doesn't matter that these women have been caught in lie after lie. This isn't about proof. It's exactly about ignoring the law. We want you to look the other way and put the nigger in jail just because. But Tom Mesereau's making that a little bit dicey, isn't he? He's making it a little bit complicated to do that. He's not letting his client get railroaded and steamrolled, and they're mad as hell. Because they couldn't get OJ, they couldn't get Michael, and they're like, well, damn, Bill Cosby's our consolation prize, but he's proving a lot harder to nail than they thought. Imagine that, a black man who's got the resources to put forward a substantive defense. See, the white media's stuck on the horns of a dilemma. On the one hand, they love to nail a black man to a cross for nothing, particularly for something they know he didn't do. And the trick that goes along with it is, if you're going after a famous black man, he might have a couple of shekels, a couple of nickels to rub together, and that means he might have enough money to actually put up a real legal defense. Which means you're picking a hard target. Far as they're concerned, we got the law on lock. We got these prosecutors who are going to engage in blatant prosecutorial misconduct. We got a media who is going to try to poison the jury pool against the accused. And we got judges who we know will engage in blatant jurist nullification. We got this thing sewn up top to bottom. He's walking into a lion's den, and it ought to be easy to tear him up. But it seems harder than they thought. Black men, just especially those with resources, make for harder targets than the white media expects. And because of that, they're furious. But they're also looking and saying, hey, you'll never know until you try. Roll the dice. My problem with this whole thing is it should never have come to this in the first place. The district attorney, the judge, the white media, they know everything that I've told you about Cosby's accusers. Hell, the DAs had to fend off questions about Cosby's accusers before all this. The media's certainly been spitting in the face of anyone who brings up the criminal records of these harpies. And pointing out their lies and inconsistencies, the media then says, well, it doesn't matter if they told lies. It doesn't matter if they've been to jail. Gee, is that what they said about all the black people who've been murdered by the police the last few years? Have they been saying that the white DAs or the white defense attorneys are going to the bottom of the barrel? You haven't seen the white media doing that. In fact, the white media have been the main ones leading the charge to smear, defame, and demonize black people who have been murdered, people who have been dead, those who can't speak for themselves. Meanwhile, you got these women, mostly white, who have been caught out lying. They have had the ability to speak for themselves, and they get caught in lie after lie and have to admit that they lied, and the white media is claiming no fair. So what does that tell you? The white media is not here to inform, they are here to indoctrinate. They're not here to report. They are here to rape the public mind. And you know that if all you have to do is go to the local library and pick up Janice Dickinson's fiction book, there's no excuse for why the white media was not already pointing out, wait a minute here, which version of events is accurate? Was she lying then or is she lying now? Well, according to her, I was lying back then. Now, you know you're in deep when you got the defense attorney who's able to get you to admit that you lied on the stand. Oh, the white media, no wonder they're so furious. Last time they were in this position, it was Mark Furman who was on the stand. You see, that's the problem these DAs got. He brought all of these harpies with him because he thought he was going to stack the deck. He figured if I can just bring a string of accusers and the jury will be impressed by that and say, well, all these women can't be lying. And Tom Mesereau is pointing out, actually, they can all be lying. So if all this information's been out there, why is it that no one, not even the old dead black media, the bootlicks, you know who I'm talking about, the roly-poly Martins before he got booted off of TV None, Joy Reid has been out there leading the charge against Cosby because, she doesn't want to have to go the way of Tamron Hall. She knows what side her bread's buttered on, but she's been a man-hating harpy, just like Melissa Washington Harris, Lacewell, Lopez Gonzalez Round the World in 80 Days Harris. They know exactly what side their bread's buttered on if they want to continue to get a steady paycheck from the white media. Or if you want to be able to say, I'm a Negro who's on TV like Joy Reid. They know the scam they're part of and they're willing participants. But too many black folks out there, you are willing participants with these liars. If you got some black person who's on establishment white media TV, they're not there because they tell the truth. So the old dead black media, they're not going to say anything. Don Lemonade, he ain't going to say anything. Robin Cockroach Robber, she ain't going to say anything. They know what they got to do to keep their jobs. And this is no small thing. What's happening with Bill Cosby here is not just happening to him. It's a signal event. This is one of those things where it's time to lynch a black man and remind the society that the big bad black man is public enemy number one. And notice that not even for the sake of intellectual honesty, not even for the sake of intellectual abstract, have you seen any of the old dead black media, any of these bought and paid for bootlicks, these white media surrogates, you haven't seen any of them pointing out that, wait a minute, is Bill Cosby being held up as a proxy for black America? They haven't even decided to bring that up. It's a matter of, if you know a significant number of black people are saying this and believe it, at the very least, aren't you going to dignify that? Or to address it? Nah, we're not even going to address it. Yep, sounding just like their white counterparts. But of course, what goes unsaid is that when a black person is murdered, you never see them deciding that they're going to go in on the police. Your black mouthpieces working in the white media, they understand what their job description really is, and you better toe the line, and that means you never question the legitimacy or the veracity of what the police say. You don't cross that line. The white media is the fourth estate. That means the fourth branch of government. And the policy of the white supremacist states of America is to persecute black people, and the white media's role in that is to be the propaganda arm of white supremacy. They are to whitewash and justify the attacks on black people. And everyone who works for the white media, especially those black bootlicks, they understand the part that they play in all that. That's why they're not going to question any of it. They're not going to undermine white supremacy because their job is to reinforce and support white supremacy. But look at this gallery of rogues. Look at this whorehouse of liars and hags. This is who the prosecutor in Montgomery County had the nerve to put on the stand to accuse Bill Cosby of rape. Women who are prostitutes, literally, women who are thieves, women who are junkies, and one woman who bragged that she slept with over 1,000 men by her own admission. I guess Bill Cosby forced her to do that too, huh? I guess he forced her to say that she slept with over 1,000 men on the Howard Stern show, right? Now, who actually believes a single word that any of these liars say? It's a sick game that the white media is playing. These women who have spent decades, even the best, and I put best in quotes, even the ones who aren't necessarily drug addicts sleeping on Skid Row, at best, you got Janice Dickinson, a Z-list whatever. You got some other broad who used to be a freaking playboy whatever back in the day, so she was one of Hugh Hefner's in-house whores. Women who are known for absolutely nothing. Except one of them set the Guinness record for being the most slutty senior citizen. But that slimy DA Kevin Steele, he's a political whore in his own right. So of course he's ignoring all of this, and so is the white media. They're asking no questions about Janice Dickinson's career of being a drug and sex addict. Before now, who was mentioning Janice Dickinson as anything other than a punchline? Yet now they're bringing out the sad violins and we're supposed to take that seriously? This woman has been able to say anything without being in a drug-induced haze for decades now. Longer than most of us have been alive. And yet, the white media is talking to her as if she served the second course of the Last Supper. We're supposed to take her seriously now. For what? Based on what? They can't tell you why we should take her seriously, but we should because the white media knows all this and they still report on her as if she's speaking gospel truth when even they can't possibly believe what she says. And don't go kidding yourself that they actually believe any of this. The white media is a pack of liars. Their job is to be a bunch of media-based con men. They want to fool you into thinking that elections, at least outside of the local level, mean something for black people. They want to fool you into thinking that this or that celebrity is somehow important. That this or that bit of infotainment is vital news that you need to know. The biggest lie the white media tells is that they are somehow delivering news. And a lot of you have swallowed that hook, line, and sinker. You think the white media is giving you a carefully vetted compilation of the news of the day, the most important stories of the day. They're putting on a show, no different than the latest episode of CSI, or The Real Housewives of Who Gives a Damn. What they have is a media product, packaged and presented and pushed to you just like any other fakery and fraud because that's what it is. What they're doing here, however, is anything but a laughing matter. It's anything but a fiction. They're telling lies in order to enforce a true genocide. What they're doing is hardcore anti-black Nazi tactics. This is the Fourth Reich that you're seeing here. That's what this is about. This is not merely an ends unto itself. This is a means to an end. And the end is supposed to be that black folks are supposed to get loaded onto the cattle cars, but first you got to indoctrinate the public mind with the black man is a threat. The black man is a threat. Oh, look at this black man over here. Oh, you thought that he was so nice, didn't you? Just keep in mind, he's just the one that we caught, but the rest of them are doing it too. They're all the same. Bill Cosby's being held up as a proxy for all of black America. And it shouldn't surprise you that you got some half-black folks or some would-be black folks out there who are helping white supremacy in order to prop up this lie, this deadly genocidal fraud. That shouldn't surprise you. And we got to call this crap out when we see it. We cannot let them have a pass on this. The white media understands exactly the kind of fire that they're playing with. They're making these women who we know to be liars out to be angels, innocent nubile virgins who had never known the touch of a man until the big bad Bill Cosby jumped in their drawers. Andrea Constant, this Skeletor look-alike, she shook Cosby down for over $3 million. Tom Mesereau's got something for her too, though. Now, the white media has not given you the rundown on these frauds like I have, the same way they didn't do it with George Zimmerman. I did that one too, by the way. I exposed that scumbag, his criminal record. The white media doesn't talk about it. They want it hidden. They never tell you about Daniel Pantalio's courtroom record being sued repeatedly for racial profiling and police brutality. They never have the same standard because that's the point. Demonizing and attacking black people, singling us out, whether we are the defendant or the accuser. If you're black, you're the guilty one. Kevin Steele, this scumbag, he had to look high and low to try to find some accusers who didn't have too much baggage, and as we see, he didn't get far with that one. Even the women that he put on the stand, they were just the same old skanks and drug addicts, retreads from yesteryear. All of them, their stories are laughable, or at least it would be laughable if it wasn't for the fact that their stories are being used to push a real anti-black racialist agenda. And by the way, something else that all these women have in common, a lot of them retained Gloria Ambulance Chaser Allred to be their attorney. All of them have demanded shakedown money from Cosby, ranging from a few millions to, in the case of Shella Laisha, whatever her name is, whatever he's got. Parasites trying to hit the lawsuit lottery. Now, I'm sure you guys see a pattern forming here, at least I hope you do. All of these women have been failures. Failed models, failed actresses, failed singers, failed everything. These dried up hags are desperately trying to find some way to salvage whatever money they were hoping they would have made from their no doubt successful careers. They took their shot and they failed. And we see this with a lot of these Me Too hags. You got a lot of these women whose careers never took off, didn't become what they hoped and thought they would. So they're looking around for any man who they might have come into contact with, any successful man, and see if we can hit him up for some quickie cash. They're never going to be famous actresses, so at this point, they've been reduced to hoping to be famous but rich victims instead. These individuals are trying to pull off what amounts to an armed robbery in the courtroom, and the white media is acting as their accomplices and getaway driver. But the other pattern here is that the white media isn't telling you about any of this, and I want you to understand it's not harmless when the white media acts like this. If they're covering up something this obvious, this blatant, and deciding that there's going to be an across-the-board concerted effort to boycott and censor any mention of these women's criminal records, of the crimes they committed and admitted to, the lies they've told, the public record that shows that just with Janice Dickinson alone, that's just one of them who's been caught with her own words. But the white media is not publicizing it. They're burying it deliberately. If these are the lengths that they're willing to go to, the evidence is just excruciatingly clear that these women are lying and that they're working together to tell a big lie. The white media, you don't see them having some across-the-board facts set out saying, psst, don't report anything about these women's crimes. Don't report any of their drug arrests. Don't report any of their being disbarred for all kinds of manner of theft and lies. Don't report on the fact that Janice Dickinson bragged about sleeping with over 1,000 men. That should be the first thing they lead with anytime they mention Janice Dickinson in relation to this trial. Janice Dickinson, who bragged about sleeping with over 1,000 men and taking Quaaludes. Janice Dickinson, who's been a drug addict all of her adult life and slept with over 1,000 men. That's supposed to be what you mention when you say her name. But they don't. They don't mention her at all. So let me get this straight. Variety magazine and a bunch of others, if you look up Janice Dickinson's name on Google, Janice Dickinson and 1,000 men, you'll have a laundry list of publications who are reporting on it. But now they've all suffered an across-the-board bout of amnesia. Now none of them can remember these facts. That's what's going on here. This is a concerted effort because this goes beyond groupthink. These are white supremacists on code. They ain't Richard Spencer. They're not David Duke, and yet they're every bit as anti-black and virulent as those alleged public white supremacists. I say alleged public because the truth of the matter is there is no public to it. These guys are white supremacists in public, private, and every other circumstance. Just like the white media. They're all pressing the exact same agenda for the same reasons. I'm going to go ahead and do the New Yorker a good one, because they were so proud of showing that phony baloney collage of Cosby's, as we all understand, false accusers. We're going to cover with all of Cosby's accusers. Well, I'm going to go ahead and do them one better than that. I'm going to show a real collage of Bill Cosby's accusers, the one the white media doesn't want you to see. And this time we'll show their mugshots, so the whole world can see these heifers for what they truly are, criminals. You've noticed the massive coverage, but what you haven't seen is the massive cover-up. This is not the retrying of Bill Cosby. This is taking a stab at the second lynching of Bill Cosby. The white media is desperate to get Bill Cosby's head on their trophy wall. They want a black head on that trophy wall because, well, too many of the white males have been taking hits in the media. So we need the distraction, the golden blackjack that never misses. Let's find a black man, a high-profile one. We got to accuse him. We got to dirty him up. We got to ruin his reputation. But we also got to get him behind bars. That's the end game. Because we need that happy ending to our story. OJ got away. Michael Jackson got away. Floyd Mayweather kinda sorta got convicted, but then he came back and now he's bigger and badder than ever. He spat in our faces. We couldn't demoralize him and ruin him like we did Tyson. Floyd Mayweather came back and he's making more money than God. And he's doing it beating white men in the ring. We don't like to mention Mayweather because we didn't get the ending we wanted. Sure, we got him behind bars, but when he got out, he wasn't broken. He was worse than before. So we don't want to mention Floyd Money Mayweather, because that goes against the narrative. We were trying to take his money from him. Instead, he's richer than he's ever been. You notice that in almost half the coverage of this witch hunt, the white media is sure to mention Me Too, Me Too, Me Too. and that this is the Me Too movement's first big test. They put that talking point out there. They want to connect this to Me Too. We're in the era of Me Too now. Come on, let's be virtuous and let's make sure that we lynch this nigger for Me Too. Because it's a brand new day and we're going after those niggers for sexual offenses. Because that's never happened before. This is the exact same premature celebration that they did for his first trial, and I think we all know how that one turned out. The white media is desperate to make this a cause celeb. The point of Me Too was not to offer any sort of examination for an accusation. It was meant to be a rallying cry to a summary execution. A man, preferably black, is accused. The screeching harpies get out there and scream Me Too loud as they can, guilty loud as they can, and say it over and over again. The white media will repeat it and signal boost it for them. And if the guy gets fired or otherwise ruined faster than you can say witch hunt, that's good. Me Too is to sanction a feeding frenzy. That's what it is. A calling card to a feeding frenzy. Me Too's entire definition is about shoot first and don't ask any questions. In fact, you better not ask any questions. That is, unless the accused is black. Harold Perrineau's daughter, well, she accused a white man of having sexually assaulted her, and well, no less than Lena Dunham said, well, you can't believe every woman you know. Whatever happened to believe women, huh? The white media knows exactly the fraud that Me Too is, but it's a useful fraud. It's a cover for the same old anti-black lynch them in the media before we lynch them in court routine. The white media brags about it. This is their power. They're flexing. The media makes accusations equal to a conviction. And you don't need proof. In fact, you shouldn't need proof because they can exercise veto power. That's why you saw Mika Brzezinski running her mouth. And you saw Michael Douglas's wife, Catherine Zeta-Jones. See, whenever you're going to call yourself throwing some mud at a white woman in the media, they're going to, if you go after their meal ticket, the husband that they're depending on, all of a sudden, they are the anti-feminists. They sound conservative as hell. Well, you can't believe every woman you know. They get to have it both ways. That's the great thing about the white media. When you have a media monopoly, when you hog the media microphone, when your media megaphone is bigger than everyone else's, when you can do is, you can have it both ways. In one breath, you can say the accusers must be believed under all circumstances. Then in the very next breath, say, except for these circumstances, these over here, and these over here, and whenever else I say so. You get to have it both ways, or 3 ways, or 10 ways, or 100 different ways. Or in the case of Cosby's trial, 60 different ways. You convict whomever you say should be convicted, and on the exact same grounds with the exact same evidence, you go ahead and you give a media pass to whomever you wish to give a pass to. It's wrong to demand proof now. That is, unless you're a black woman accusing a white man of something, then you better have audio, video, and printout. You better have tons of proof, and your word ain't good enough. Me Too is a license to libel, and it is a license to lie. And for the weak-minded, weak-moraled women like Janice Dickinson, who decide that they're going to try to push this thing for their own personal gain, this is power tripping for weak people, which is what the feminists are. If you ally yourself within what you're saying is you're a weak person. They're too weak to earn power, and nobody in their right mind is going to give them any power. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to find a way that they can con their way to force society to give them some measure of power. But the power they want is the power to destroy innocent black men's lives. That's it. You haven't seen any of these feminists build anything, and they're not going to. That's not why feminism exists. Feminism is nothing more than the white female power movement, a clumsy front for white women who wish to engage in forwarding the aims of white supremacy, but they want to be able to throw their weight around a little bit too. So for the white media to invoke Me Too in relation to Cosby is the white media boldly advertising that Cosby needs to go down. Evidence be damned. They know exactly what's going on. And by the way, for any of you half-wits out there who secretly subscribe to, oh yeah, Cosby did it, he admitted it, I had some half-wit Some moron who clearly must have got turned up before he bombed in my comment feed actually saying, well, it is possible he could be guilty. I told this idiot it's also possible that he could be stupid. Yeah, you got some black folks, probably some white trolls with some black puppet accounts, no doubt. And they're trying to say, well, there's some black folks who believe Cosby's guilty. There's also some black folks who would say that slavery wasn't that bad, too. Shout out Charles Barkley. I guess we should take their word for it, huh? No, if you actually try to say that Me Too ain't all bad, I mean they've exposed some rapists and the like, you're an idiot. The bad guys co-opted that thing from the jump. People didn't care about punishment. They just wanted some Hollywood drama in this case. They wanted the celebs to dish some real dirt on each other, which they did. They got their little sideshow and now they're done with it. At this point, Me Too is going to go to what it was meant to be from the very beginning. The thin end of the wedge of attacking black people, black men in specific, en masse. Me Too has not made anyone safer. No one, female or male for that matter, is any safer now because of the Me Too movement, because of what these feminists have done. It was a distraction campaign, plain and simple, full stop. The mission was to redirect attention away from the Harvey Weinsteins and the other white offenders onto black men, and that's what they did. Oh, the white media loves to make a media circus out of putting black men on trial, but famous white men, on the other hand, well, we should give them their privacy. This conditions the society that whenever a black man is accused of something, the old nation needs to look. This is the trial of the century for the 5th time in a row. But if it's a white offender being accused, well, let's wait. Let's forget about it. We'll come back in a few months and see what happens. He's no more important than any other person. Equal justice under the law, don't you know? So I'm going to close out this expose where we expose the fraudsters. And we're going to close this out by pointing out that once again, I'm not here because I'm trying to be a cheerleader for Cosby. The reality is the white media doesn't give a damn about all of these fraudulent accusers. Bill Cosby is nothing more than a football and white supremacy's game of power politics. Whether Bill Cosby's found guilty at this point is actually not all that relevant because under white supremacy, an accusation is tantamount to a guilty verdict. Look what they did to Nate Parker. Found innocent by a white jury in the South of all places. Now, under any circumstances, common sense would dictate, if an all-white jury in the South said that a black man was innocent of having raped a white woman, if they say he didn't do it, then that should be case closed. Not for the white media, though. Nope, not at all. So even if you're found innocent by an all-white jury, that means nothing to the white media because it's not about your guilt or innocence of having committed a crime. Your skin color is the crime. Every black person in America is guilty of the crime of unforgivable blackness. The dominant society is merely waiting for some accusation to be made, some act to be committed, real or imagined, that they can use as proof that this or that black person needs to be lynched so we can show our power. So next time some unthinking moron has the nerve to ask, well, can all of these women be lying? Well, I'll tell you right now, all you got to do is look at them on a case-by-case basis, and the answer is immediately yes. They can all be lying. And you can prove it for yourself. That is, unless you just don't want to have to see it.